Well, hello! I'm back again. It's my second episode up now. Video. I'm so sorry. Forgive me for being such an idiot. Today I really just want to discuss books that really changed me as a person and influenced me and really changed the course of who I am. I really wouldn't be who I am today without books, and I feel like that's the same way for a lot of people. Books are pretty freaking good, man. They really change us. I'm not going to give a synopsis of these books. They're pretty well known. They're pretty self-explanatory. If you don't know these books by now, there are plenty of videos out there. So without further ado, my first book, The Hunger Games. I know what most of you are wondering. Why isn't Harry Potter the first book on your list? Why isn't Harry Potter the most influential book in your life? Well, to be quite frank, I didn't get into Harry Potter until way later on in my life. This was the first book that really touched me, and as I said in my first video, I didn't really get into it until I watched the movie, and when I watched the movie, I was just absolutely hooked and I had to know what happened, and so when I read this book, I really got into reading, and I really realized that there were other books out there that I could enjoy just as much as this one, and so that's really what got me started with it, and I feel like this is really the most influential book that I've ever read. What got my foot in the door to reading. It's what started me into my passion for this. So this is a good one. I feel like I should say more about this book. I mean, we'll go on to the next book. The next book I am going to talk about is Percy Jackson. This book is a middle grade book, but that doesn't take away from how absolutely amazing it is. Percy and his whole trio is so funny and humorous. In this book, they're literally going to the underworld to go complete their mission, and while they're there, they're stopped at the gates by this enormous Rottweiler dog that is twice the size of a woolly mammoth with three heads, and their big phenomenal plan to get past this dog. Percy grabs a stick and he's like, here boy, get the stick, and it's like, it's just so funny. They say there's so many good jokes in here. The dialogue is amazing. Percy's inner thoughts are great. Everything about this book is so amazing. It's not a hard read. If you're not really into reading, I really recommend it. It is a middle grade book, but that doesn't mean that it's not a great book. This book really influenced me just because this book was so focused on friendship and on completing your mission and finding yourself as a person, and not so much about a love triangle or a lot of other tropes that are found in a lot of YA books these days. This book was just, it was so wonderful to start out in. It was so great to help you find yourself. I really recommend this if you're going through a hard time and you just really want to feel like you have some great friends with you, because Percy is your friend. The next book on this list might come as a little bit of a surprise. Kelly, how could this book influence you, you might ask? Well, you're about to find out. Twilight. I know what you're thinking. Twilight? How did this book affect you in any way? Well, truthfully, I read this book at the perfect time. I read this book when I was about 14 or 15, so my early teens, and this really wasn't a difficult read. There was really no real substance to this book other than just this romance that they had going on, but the romance was so all-consuming and amazing, and just like, it was so easy to fall in love with and keep track of, and I really felt like this was my first relationship. With Percy Jackson, I had like a friendship, and with this, I felt like I had a relationship. Never had a relationship. I had never experienced what love was, and I felt like this book was a really great example and really helped me to understand, because now that I've like had that experience before, I don't know if this is quite that accurate, but it was still nice to pretend like I was a part of this relationship, and it was just, it was adorable and cute. I don't care how much you hate this, it's just absolutely wonderful. Now the next book that I gotta talk about really isn't that much of a surprise. This book would literally be on everybody's list. I can't imagine this not being on somebody's list, and that book is Percy. That book is Harry Potter, what am I saying? This was another one that was kind of like Percy Jackson. I felt really a part of this trio. I loved following their journey. Even though I didn't really read this at a super young age, I read this like mid-teens. It was kind of like an early pickup. Like, it wasn't super early in my YA reading career, it was more like in the middle, but it still didn't change the fact that it was super influential. It was just really nice to be introduced into a world of magic and to so many amazing characters. This book really taught me what a great villain looks like. Dolores Umbridge, who is Voldemort? No, Dolores Umbridge is the real villain in this series, and it's just, it was so well written. It was such a great evolution to follow. It was absolutely life-changing to read about this, to really feel like you're a part of a house. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm really a part of Slytherin, and I'm not ashamed of that. Hashtag Draco Malfoy, you my boy. Very much a great read. It's worth every page, and I highly recommend it because it will change your life too. The last book on this list truly changed my life. It is so great. It is so amazing. It's absolutely wonderful. Let me just get right to it. Throne of Glass. Now you're probably like, why is this an influential book? This is so typical. Kelly, what are you doing with your life? This book, man, this book taught me what a good book is. Now, not everyone agrees, not everyone likes this book. I've heard a few different reasons. I've seen a few rant videos, but I still don't care. This book is amazing, and I would recommend it to anybody. I haven't read a series quite like this. I've never read a series where it felt so like huge. The first two books feel like their own entity. They feel like their own little world, and it's like once you get to the third book, the world starts evolving into something a lot more than what you originally thought it was. And I've never really seen a book where you start out with like the typical love triangle, and then like you're introduced to this new love interest halfway through the series. And a lot of people hated that. A lot of people got on a ship and sailed, and I didn't. I didn't like either of her love choices in the book. I didn't care for them. So the third book was a lifesaver. Ooh! I just love them so much. If you haven't read this series, you need to pick it up now. It's so worth every word. I had really never read a book with so many main characters in it, and I think that's why it changed me so much. It's just, I had never felt like I was a part of such a family. Like, these characters, it really taught me that your friends are your family. Your family doesn't necessarily have to be your blood. Your friends can be just as much of your family, and this book taught me that because they all work in unison. They're like a perfect puzzle. They all fit together perfectly. They work together amazingly. All the characters are great in their own way, and they're just a family, and it's just absolutely amazing. And I'm so happy that I was a part of this family and I could be a part of this squad along this series. Even though this is gonna wrap up in November, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. I'm super excited for this, and it's just, read it so we can talk about it. Well, that is all I have today for the influential books. Let me know what books influenced you the most. I had a really fun time talking about this. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.